Hey all, Daniel here. We have a great new way for you to reach out to us here at We Watch TV. If you take a look down in the show notes of the podcast, you'll notice a link that says text us a question or comment. The link will open the messaging app on your phone, and from there you can send a text message to us, your favorite variety TV podcast hosts. So if we say something you like or don't like about your favorite show, click that link and educate us on your opinion. We love hearing them, even if they're wrong, and we will make sure to shout you out on our next episode or answer your burning questions. So make sure and check that out down in the show notes. And now, enjoy the episode.
Good morning. In less than an hour, aircraft from here will join others from around the world, and you will be launching the largest aerial battle in this history of mankind. Mankind. That word should have new meaning for all of us.
No. We're not doing that again. We did that last year for the 4th of July. We're not doing it.
But I mean, we can't be consumed by our petty differences
No,
anymore. We will be
stop.
united in our common
Stop.
interests.
Hey everybody, welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel, she is Hope. This is episode 73. Happy July 2nd.
And this is President Whitmore.
No.
If you missed me saying this entire speech and you want to hear it all again, go back to some episodes from last July, I believe. It was
July
actually
4th
on
last
July
year,
4th. And you can hear this entire iconic speech. Because somehow, I don't know what happened to June. What happened to June?
Yeah, it's crazy.
June was like 2 days, maybe 2 days long.
It seems like
It was a
that.
very busy June. We went on vacation.
It was very busy, but it went by very
A
quickly.
lot of stuff going on, unlike January.
And now
which
it's just
6 months.
hot.
January, 6 months. February felt regular. Then I feel like March, April, May, June has just been whoop.
Yeah.
And now here we are. 4th of July, getting ready for the 4th of July. It's on a Thursday. That's dumb.
Get them hamburgers ready, get them glizzies ready.
No one calls them glizzies. Don't you think that's dumb, though? Like, a Thursday. I guess it's better than a Wednesday.
Listen, I any holiday that is not on a fixed date and
Yes.
that day isn't a Monday or a Friday, it kind of irritates me a little bit.
It's very irritating.
Because you always end up getting them on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it's
Exactly.
just the worst. Like,
Thanksgiving's okay because we get Black Friday off now.
I don't.
After it.
You do.
Well, you always
I
take
have
it
to
off
use a
anyway.
vacation day for that.
I used to have to use a vacation day.
Well, I still do. So, thanks for the reminder
And
that the day after the worst day of my life, I have to use a PTO day to be off.
you do realize that I've worked more Black Fridays than you.
Okay, it's a
Why
contest,
are we talking
everybody.
about?
It's a contest.
Tell me everything is not about me. Say it.
But what if it is?
But what if it is?
Yes, that's right. We're talking about my birthday on Thanksgiving Day yet again.
But really, the 4th of July. So, what are you most excited for the 4th of July? Having the day off and eating?
Yeah, hot dogs and sauce.
You don't want to watch Independence Day?
No, I don't care about that. Hot dogs and sauce. I haven't had a hot dog probably since last 4th of July.
I don't think I have had a hot dog
And
since 4th of July.
your mom's sauce recipe, and I'm ready to just like down 5 of them.
Which is spectacular. So I guess now the band uses it at my old high school, but like they still use her recipe for like sporting events and stuff as like the boosters, and I know the band's been using it. And my brother-in-law was telling me they were serving it at like an event that they were working where they were working concessions, and some man was like, "Well, whose recipe is this?" And he was like, "Oh, it's my mother-in-law's." And the guy asked my brother-in-law, he goes, "Is she single?" No, she's not. That's how good that sauce is. I have not had pork or red meats in like months, but I think I'm gonna have
Get
to
ready.
break down. I'll have to do it for America,
Yeah.
for the USA.
You have to have a hot dog on the 4th of July.
But Independence Day is a great movie. Not that stupid sequel. The first.
I don't
Independence
disagree.
Day,
I don't disagree. The first one is a very good movie.
It's class. It really reminds me of just like pure 90s. I think we said this last year on our 4th of July podcast. I just love it so much. That's the greatest speech in movie history. What's a better speech than that? I mean, okay. So the Barbie, America Ferrera's monologue in the Barbie movie was pretty good. But President Whitmore's speech, like, can you think of a better speech? I guess Braveheart had a pretty good speech.
There was a couple good speeches in Braveheart. I'm sure there's been lots of movies with some good speeches in them. So I think it was a very energetic and exciting speech, but I don't know if it's the
was.
greatest speech in cinematic history,
I think not just cinematic, like ever.
including real speeches that were about actual events. Like you're saying, President Whitmore's fake speech in Independence Day is better than, say, the Gettysburg Address, is what you're saying.
Hey, did you know that I did a social studies project on the Gettysburg Address and I won first place at the county social studies fair? Shout out to Beth, my partner, who did this project with me. If you are listening to this podcast,
Hey, we watched some TV. Shockingly enough,
we did a lot of TV.
I don't know what do you want to start with. We've got our things that are ongoing, and then we got the thing we binged.
I say, let's go ahead and kick it off with the boys.
Okay.
And then we'll get into some Acolyte action before we get into a little hands. Yes, chef.
Yes, chef. All
I'm
right.
going to haunt you. So, again, guys, we do chapter markers, so feel free to skip around if you want. But let's go ahead and kick things off with the boys. What episode number was that for the boys?
I'm looking that up right now. I believe it was the 6th. Yep.
Episode 6?
No, I'm sorry. That was the 5th episode.
I was going to say, I thought it was the 5th episode. This is what happens when we're really hot after a run and I don't make show notes like normal.
It was the 5th episode, and so we kind of had a 2-storyline arc. Huey was in the hospital taking care of his dad.
Yes.
And then all the rest of the boys went and got Stan out of prison, Carlos Espinida's character.
I just called him Moth Gideon all the time.
And
has he ever played not a villain ever? He's like villainous in like everything I've seen him in.
I know he was also very well known for Breaking Bad, and he's a villain in that as well.
Shocker.
So I don't know if he has.
Great actor.
And so they're trying to find. Apparently, Newman's character had been trying to develop a virus, and I think that ties into the Gen V show a little bit, which we did not watch. And so they go trying to catch that, to find that, and of course she knows they're up to it. So
they're wanting to get the virus to see if there's a way that they can weaken Homelander, kind of take him out. And all the while this is happening, we are dealing with Frenchie's dealing with his own issues because his like lover, he apparently like when he was an assassin, like murdered the guy's whole family. He did confess to the guy. The guy knows about it, so he's dealing with that. A lot's going on with Starlight right now with Annie. She had some very personal information revealed in the previous episode. She kind of lost her mind a little bit and beat the crap out of Firecracker. Is that?
Yeah, which is exactly what they wanted.
Yeah,
to happen.
Basically. I think the smart one, Sage, kind of set that whole thing up to happen, fell right into the hands of that. So everybody's kind of dealing with some separate traumas. Obviously, Butcher is still hallucinating, dealing with his own trauma. So we're at this farm, and flying sheep.
They'd been shooting the farm up animals with V, apparently.
Bulls,
yeah.
Murderous chickens.
Yeah.
It was a classic, like, what the heck did I just watch episode of The Boys, but it was really good. Huey's storyline was very sad because he obviously was dealing with the death of a loved one.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because we had a conversation. I really felt that, like when that was happening.
I did too. You're going to call me out.
But then you kind of so you said you didn't feel it as much as I did. And then you're like, and part of the reason was because, so backstory, in the last episode, the last thing we see is they shot Huey's dad up with V.
Yes.
To see if it could bring him out of his coma. It did. It also gave him superhero powers. And now, this episode, he was running amok through a hospital, killing a bunch of people.
His memory very spotty.
Yeah, inadvertently. And so you kind of pointed that out to me. And I do think that did kind of soil it was a very emotional goodbye at the end. But in hindsight, all those people that died kind of made it less. Well,
I just want to clarify some stuff on that. What I was saying, it was very sad for me, but my reasons are kind of like twofold. One, I'm not loving all the separate. I feel like Huey, and yes, he's been dealing with his own stuff. I'm not loving all these separate little storylines this season because I like the group dynamics. So I feel like we've barely seen Huey have. He did, like, comfort Starlight after that information was revealed, but it was a very short scene. I guess they're threefold. Two, well, it was his mom that ended up taking the V and shooting him up. Like, Huey did get that from A-Train, and that's, once again, he's lying to Starlight. That's annoying to me because I feel like he constantly lies to her, and that just really gets on my nerves because she deserves better than that. And then I did find it very emotional, but I think I would have been more emotional about it if they had just let him peacefully go. Instead, they've created this whole scene at the hospital now.
Yeah.
Multiple people have died, and that's kind of like I'm glad that you thought about what I was saying, that I wasn't being like a cold-hearted person. Like, that's just kind of where I was with that. I was a little bit taken out of the moment because I was like, okay, but now this hospital's on full alert. Multiple people have died. There's blood everywhere. Huey and his mom are going to have to get the heck out of Dodge. And
yeah.
And people know, they're going to know that that's Huey's dad when they see him, unless they unless they can get somebody in there, call up Marvin, Mother's Milk. If they're back from the farm in time, we don't know what the time frame of all these things are, and they can come help clean up the mess. Maybe they'll address that in episode 6. I don't know. But yeah, so this episode, a lot of stuff happened and a lot of stuff didn't happen.
And so then all of those two main character story lines are going around, and in the kind of the C plot of the whole episode is they really took a lot of shots at Disney. With the whole Vought thing, and they had everybody doing like their D23.
It was basically like the D23
Yeah,
thing.
it was V23 or something. There was a number after it they were calling
and
it.
And like the timeline of other movies, which is funny because and we love the Marvel movies, so it's just like, is this play about us? So I think when I was saying like a lot of stuff happened and then a lot of stuff didn't happen, what I mean by that is right now we still don't, the gang's not together yet. So I think they're going to amp that up and we're going to get some more action of everybody together, whether it's trying to get Ryan back or going after Homelander. But then a lot of other stuff did happen. Frenchie, at the end of the episode, turned himself in for murder at the police station. Butcher, once again, lied to everybody.
Yes.
Because he has Victoria Newman's, I think it's her husband, boyfriend, baby daddy, whatever you want to call him.
He's a scientist, first and foremost, because he's been developing the virus.
And we thought, we were led to believe that he was killed when all the farm animals were flying around, killing people, going crazy, getting the V out of their system. And it turns out Butcher cut his leg off, has him in the barn. So we got to talk about Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character.
Oh, he's totally not an illusion of Butcher's mind.
I'm 100% convinced now that he is just like Becca. Because we had... is it Samir? Is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
He was kind of like addressing Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character while he was talking to him, and they panned to Samir's face really quickly.
He looked into the corner.
Kind of looked confused.
But it wasn't a look of, oh, this guy you're talking to. It was who are you talking to?
Confusion and panic.
Yes.
So we've got all that going on. So when I say, I mean, not a lot's happening, like it's kind of like a lot has happened, but not a lot together. Like, what do you think the end game of this season is? Personally, I think we're going to see the Julius Caesar thing play out. I think A-Train is going to be the Brutus and be the one that, quote-unquote, stabs Caesar, which would be Homelander. And I think somehow the boys are going to be involved. I'm not really sure about Ryan. They showed Ryan was kind of enjoying torturing that guy because Homelander was like, I'm going to let you do whatever I want as a parent. Yep. And even though we've seen those little moments of Ryan, I think ultimately Ryan is still good. And I don't think he's gonna be completely bad like Homelander.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they're gonna go that way, but I do. I am with you that I believe A-Train is going to be. I think Butcher and what he's doing with the virus and A-Train, the team's gonna come together. They're not gonna like Butcher's solution and how he got there, but at the end of the day, and Butcher's not gonna like that they're working with A-Train. But at the end of the day, they're all gonna come together. A-Train's gonna take his shot. He's gonna. One, he's going to die for it. Yes. Homelander's going to kill him. And two, he's going to do it publicly, and people are going to see Homelander bleeding.
Yes.
And it's going to be open season on like, hey, this guy is not invincible.
And the Supes in general, too.
Yeah.
And how they come back.
And that's going to be like our dead drop into season 5.
I think so. I definitely think that's how they're playing it out. And I think that's kind of been Sage's plan this whole time. I don't know what's going to be. I think they'll find a way to get Frenchie out of jail.
Yeah, sure.
I think
he has to be with the team at the close of the season. He's got to be with the team.
I think the team's eventually going to be. So when I say not much going on, I mean like with the team in general, with the boys, so to speak. I'm excited for more. I think the last couple episodes are going to get a little nutty.
Yes.
If you had to pick, who is your favorite character from the boys currently? Mine always changes. I have a soft spot for Frenchie, so it's kind of a bummer for me last week.
I have a soft spot for Carl Urban, and so I will always love
Butcher.
any character that he's playing because he's always fantastic. And so yes, and Butcher is always doing bad things and always being annoying. And right now, like, just listening to what we believe is just a complete figment of his imagination.
Yeah.
But I still like Butcher quite a bit.
All right. Well, speaking of baddies, let's get into The Acolyte,
All right.
episode 5. Episode 5, I thought episode 4 was going to be the best episode of the season. I think episode 5 is now the best episode that we've had of The Acolyte so far.
For sure.
It started off with a bang and ended with a bang.
So last episode, big Sith guy, well, he is credited as the Stranger, and even he in the episode didn't necessarily refer to himself as a Sith. So bad guy shows up.
I think I'm in love.
Starts a fight, and it kind of cuts there.
Yes.
It picked right back up with the fight, and
absolutely.
the entire episode was just this fight. And the first thing you see after you kind of see Osha waking up from being knocked out is him taking out, like, what, 5 or 6 Jedi in a row?
A lot of people died.
Yeah. He
so
skewered
Soul's
those
still
two.
alive. The one Jedi guy dead. The girl
Yord
what
got
was
his
the girl's
head.
name?
Jackie.
Who
she
I
got 3
loved,
hole punched.
died. I think now it's gonna come back where that one, like, the Conehead guy, and he's like, the Sith, we haven't seen them. Well, yeah, because everyone's gonna die.
Yeah.
That knows about this. The sisters have a little switcheroo at the end.
Yes.
Maya's trying to be like, we can work together. We can be together again. We can go, like, I think she was wanting to, like, form their own, like, little witch planet again, right?
She certainly was ready to abandon the Sith. Like,
whereas Osha still has a lot of anger and rage.
Yep.
And then, so basically, at one point, Maya's like, you know what? Because the way you could tell them apart is Maya has a little bit longer hair.
Right.
So she does the classic Mulan, let's cut my hair, only we're going to
with
use
a
a
lightsaber. She cut her hair with a lightsaber, which is a choice.
And then I guess when Osha was knocked unconscious, she, like, undressed her, put her clothes on. I think Saul knows that's Maya.
Absolutely.
Because he's like, where's your sister?
Yeah.
Or we need to find your sister.
He didn't use her name.
Yes. So the Stranger, we caught that one correct.
Yep. Kamir, I believe, was his name.
He was the one that was working with Maya. They were hanging out, and we were like, oh, that's the guy she's working for. Now, I think he's working for somebody else.
Yes.
I don't think
he's
he is
not
the
the
one
master.
in charge.
He may not even be the apprentice, in my opinion. He might be actually another acolyte trying to earn his stripes as a Sith.
But I think I'm
Go
in
ahead.
love.
Go ahead.
Anakin is always my number one forever. But so first off, I liked that guy in his immediate introduction when we first saw him with Maya, and then he had that interaction with Osha and was like, "You look just like her," and he kind of had this, like, sarcastic thing going on, which I really enjoy. And then I'm watching him fight these people, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, he just killed Jackie, and then I see his arms, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, this guy, apparently this actor's been in, like, The Good Place and some other shows, and I think he got the Hayden Christensen Revenge of the Sith workout plan, because arms, okay, I know that you are a straight male, but how are his arms?
He did the work.
They were good. And I was like, so he's just, like, killing these people. I was like, he's cute, but he's a murderer, but he's cute. And now I think he's, like, my favorite character in The Acolyte, and I want to learn more about him. You never know. If he is not the one and he's working for somebody else, he was probably tricked and manipulated into all of these things, and I can save him.
I'm going to tell you right now, he's not. That is the only character on this show that I can guarantee you is not going to have a turn back to the good side.
But he sure is nice to look at, and I find him a very fascinating character. I think Maya's more interesting than Osha, but I'm still very interested to see how it's going to play out. So we've got 6, 7, 8. We have 3 more episodes of The Acolyte.
Well, yeah, the Sith and what the Sith are up to during this time period has always been the most interesting thing about this show to me. I've always been interested to see how the Jedi are, and I think they've done a good job of showing how the Jedi are now in this show and how they will turn into what they are in the prequels.
And we're still not knowing the full story.
No, we don't.
I think we're going to get that because Maya, like, has a whole different story in her head about how Osha sees it as Maya got mad, burned their whole planet, killed everybody, and that's that. That's clearly not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going around. Have you heard the theories when it comes to the Sith about that this is how the Knights of, like, the Ren started?
I've seen that, yeah. I'm
not sure they're going to go into that, but Disney does love their sequels.
I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know if they're going to go that direction, but do you think the episode coming this week, I don't think they should do this. Do you think they're going to do another flashback episode? The whole episode's a flashback, just from the other side, just from the other perspective of Maya's character.
If the entire episode's not a flashback, I do think we're going to pick up with some flashback heavy stuff, because they're going to have to. They have 3 episodes left. They're going to have to explain that. Then I don't know if this show's going to have a second season. I don't know what their end game, what their plans are. But I can tell you this: it's now to the point where I'm looking very forward to it. I'm very excited for the next episode.
I think for me, yes, I agree. They need to do flashbacks to show us the other side of that. If the whole next episode is just another flashback from the other perspective, I think that'll kill the momentum that they gained a little bit.
I think so too. And that's why I don't think they're going to do. I don't think it's going to be an entire flashback. I think it's going to be very flashback heavy, but I still think they might.
The only reason I ask is because I didn't expect to get an entire flashback episode in the first place in episode 3. I expected we would see some of what happened, but not like just a credits to credits flashback episode.
We're going to get some sprinklings in, and I think we're going to see Carrie Ann Moss's character again.
Yeah.
You just don't cast her for,
right,
barely any scenes. So I have confidence that they're going to do that, but I'm very excited, and I don't know, something about it, guys. Give me a baddie in a Star Wars with nice arms, a hint of sarcasm and some nice hair, and I'm all in.
Okay, well, we got those out of the way, and now, Chef, are you ready?
Yes, Chef.
Doors are
Hands.
open.
I'm gonna haunt you.
Correct, everyone. We're just here to tell you we watched all of season 3 of The Bear
in 2 days.
In 2 days, we watched the first 3 episodes on a Friday evening, and everything else on Saturday.
Despite Daniel choking to death when we were watching it on Saturday.
As I was eating, yes. We persevered through, and we watched the entire.
And you're okay
season.
now.
Yeah, I'm fine.
He just got excited, choked on a chicken wing a little bit, and then I was like, "Should we pause the episode?" He's like, "Just keep watching." That's how much we love The Bear. I think The Bear season 3 took some risks.
Yes.
I personally liked the risks that they took. I think a lot of people, and from what I've seen on Reddit, are not totally thrilled. But I disagree. I thought it was great.
I paused. For some reason, when we watched the first episode, I paused, and for some reason, I remember
I think
it was
you
like
paused because I was coughing.
It was the 11-minute mark of the episode.
Oh yeah.
And I looked at you and said, "This is what this episode is going to be."
I looked at you and said
that.
that.
And then I said,
or maybe we said it kind of at the same time.
People are going to hate this.
Yeah. When we were yes, you're right. We were about 11 minutes in. I think I had a coughing fit. We had to pause. And I was like, this is going to be the whole episode. And you're like, yeah. And that's when you said people are going to hate this. And from what I've seen, people either really loved that first episode, or they didn't like it. I think it was beautifully done.
It was a beautiful episode.
I think that we got to see, it was kind of like a previously on.
Yes.
But then we also got to see stuff that we hadn't seen before with kind of Carmi's history. I feel like this is so typical of so season 2 ended. Carmi was in a terrible place. He got locked in the freezer. He was terrible to Claire. His girlfriend said terrible things to her. He was awful to Richie. He was just awful to everybody. He kind of had a meltdown. Sometimes after you go through a situation like that, at least for me, you'll go back and you replay everything in your brain that's led up to that moment, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I think that's kind of what we were seeing, because it wasn't all bad moments.
No, it wasn't
at
all.
We saw him in Copenhagen. We saw him working with Olivia Colman's character. Mm-hmm. It was a very interesting way to start the season, and people are either going to like that or not like it. That's not how every episode was, but I do think it set the tone that this season was going to be a little different.
It set the tone, and like you're right, many more of the episodes were much more linear in that sense, but the tone that episode set still persisted throughout the entire season, and gave it that the feeling of each episode was still very much you could draw them together.
And it still stresses me out to watch The Bear.
Absolutely, yes.
Even in a slower episode.
Some particular episodes, there were a few episodes.
Episode 2 was great. That's where Richie and Carmi were arguing. I thought that was fantastic again.
Yeah.
But Richie, can I just say that I'm so proud of him? You could see that there were times where he almost wanted to backslide a little bit, but he still kept moving forward from what we had seen. He wants to still be better. And I really liked seeing that healthy. Like, you could tell even where he was a little frustrated. There was one episode he's just like, I'm just having an off day. Like, Sid had to finish the speech to the front of house staff. And he was just like, I'm just having kind of like an off day a little bit.
But he wasn't yelling and screaming
and
taking his stuff out on other people.
And I think what we're seeing more too when it comes to Richie, he's my favorite character on The Bear.
Right, me too.
I think what we're seeing even more with him, that he wasn't always like the man that we met in season 1. He, just like everybody else, was incredibly impacted by Mikey's death.
Yes.
And then that impacted his marriage.
Sure.
And so we're seeing when we meet Richie, not only has he lost his best friend, his marriage has fallen apart, he's not seeing his child as much. Carmi's wanting to change things at the restaurant. So I think this is the season. If I were to tell people a way to think about season 3 is this is the season about characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think why I personally liked it, even though the biggest criticism that I have seen is that the plot didn't move forward as much, I disagree and think that, yes, the plot with the restaurant itself didn't, but in terms of the plot of these characters, we got to know more about them. And I am all about character exploration. And I really think we got a lot of that this season.
Yeah. And the plot went forward. I mean, the financial stuff that's going on, that's going to be a big factor in season 4, certainly is a big thing that started drawing out. Carmi changing the menu to basically be, hey, we're going to do something different every day, and all the money that goes into that. And then you have I don't remember what his character's name, but the uncle character.
Computer? Oh, no.
Well, and computer coming in and saying, hey, you're spending too much money. You're being crazy. You got to back it off here. And then what we saw in that last episode where he basically gave him the ultimatum that, hey, listen, when this review comes out, with your hopefully a star or maybe not a star.
And he was still kind of lying about that.
Yeah, and he was still lying about it. You know, it's got to be good or I'm out. And and then we find out
he was trying to use that to soften the blow.
Yeah.
I think what people are saying though is because the first season and the second season, a lot more time passed by, and I think people felt like because Carmi never actually called Claire. Carmi they felt like
bold choice in my opinion. By the way.
It. And I think people are just saying, like, it seems like they're kind of stalling about, like, the plot of the restaurant. They're drawing it out a bit. But I don't see it as that. I see it as we're getting more of these characters. We're getting to know them more. And my standout episode of the season, and this isn't even one of my favorite characters from the show. I mean, there's no characters that I really dislike, was season 3, episode 6, Napkins. And that was really a lot focused on Tina.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe the actress that plays Sid directed this one.
I think that's
so she's getting a lot of accolades, even though she wasn't really in this episode a lot. And what I liked so much about that, and yes, it was a flashback. We got to see how kind of Tina started, but we got to see what led Tina to, working at this place with these characters. And we got to see a different side of Mikey than what we've seen. We've seen the depressed side of Mikey. We've seen the funny side of Mikey, but we got to see really the empathetic side. We got to see the side of why so many of these people at this restaurant continue to be loyal to Carmi and Sugar and their family, because they all loved Mikey so much, and he was really there for her. They didn't know each other at all, and he was just a kind person to talk to. They had a great conversation, because her whole arc was she had lost her job in this episode, and she was just having she was 46 years old at the time. She was having a lot of trouble, finding a job, because it's hard to find a job. And he was just so calm and nice to her and just had a real raw conversation. And then he's like, hey, this place is crazy. It's insane. He's like, but we need a new line cook. And I think that was not only important for her as a character, but for all the characters and why they are so loyal. And we really got to see Mikey again. He wasn't throwing a fork this time.
No.
It was in a whole different environment. What would you say your favorite standout episode of the season was? Do you have one in mind?
Yeah, I do. And you asked me this yesterday, so I thought about it a little bit. And it's going to be a controversial take. I thought the first episode was like...
You would think that.
It was 40 minutes long, and you could have told me it lasted 5 minutes.
Niles, am I elitist?
Listen, I get it. I liked it too. It was beautiful. And it just was like this experience that you don't get very often, where you're just watching something happen.
I didn't even know it was 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was a 40-minute episode. You could have told me it was 10 minutes, and I would have believed you.
It was just very different. Now, if they had done every single episode like that, I wouldn't have enjoyed that. My second favorite episode was Ice Chips.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was episode 8. And that was pretty much just on Sugar, and they bring in Jamie Lee Curtis again. You bring in Jamie Lee Curtis.
out of the park again.
She's going to knock it out of the park. But we also got to see, even though Donna had me just in so much anxiety the entire time she was on screen again, we got to see her in a little bit better of a place. And we got to see them. Their relationship is nowhere near perfect.
No.
But a little bit of an understanding. And when Donna was telling her different birth stories, and the one about poor Carmi being the crazy one, I'm like, Carmi has not known peace his entire life. Poor Carmi.
So I think that those 2 episodes that were character focused on one character are both some of the best of the season, and also what I think is going to be some of the episodes that people dislike the most.
But women's stories matter. They matter. I saw that online.
Yeah, but because a lot of people want to see the crew in the restaurant doing the thing, and we got that in two whole seasons worth of that, and there was a one-off episode last season in season 2 with Marcus going to Copenhagen.
Yes, and I like that episode as well.
And I like that episode too. I think they take their time and they tell the story they want to tell. And I'll just say it right now. This season was excellent. It was magnificent. It was gorgeous. I loved it.
It was wonderful.
It's a 10 out of 10. Give me 14 more.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 for me as well. Going back to that Ice Chips episode, one of the things I do have to say, again, about Jamie Lee Curtis's performance is even though, like, we're seeing Donna more evolved, she still kind of has that chaotic energy. At one point, I was like, did she really call Pete Sugar's husband?
you weren't sure. She did, yeah.
And I think that was intentional to kind of suspend belief. And then I thought it was a beautiful moment when he does arrive and she kind of went out the hall to give them their privacy together and she just cried. So I would like to see Carmi make more amends with her, and because I have a feeling they'll bring her back. But yeah, I agree with you. It's 10 of 10. It was a great season. I am a person that loves character, kind of depth analysis, character growth. They make I think I've had an epiphany with Claire.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
for anybody who's not aware,
Claire.
Hope was a notorious Claire Bear hater.
I was not a hater
in season 2.
I was not a hater. I just wasn't a fan because Claire in season 2 was the classic manic pixie dream girl trope, like, oh, Carmi, hi, Carmi, oh, Carmi,
you're doing
the
Reba. I just don't like her.
No, but I think now that I think she was better written this season from what we saw of her. And I believe now the point of why we saw her the way she was in that manic pixie dream girl thing is because Carmi, that's how Carmi was seeing her. He was idolizing her, putting her on a pedestal. And I think we didn't get a lot of Claire this season, but the scenes we did were great.
Yeah, when the facts show up to her
especially
job,
when the facts show up.
to ask her to take Carmi back.
I love the facts.
They're so great.
I saw a complaint. People were like, there was too much facts this season. I was like,
no,
give me more
give
facts.
me more.
I like how Maddie was like, I'm Carmi's best friend. I know all of his nuances. Let me do the talking. Then we find out that he's been texting Claire this whole time on Carmi's behalf.
Introduce another fact every couple episodes. It's fine. Because they introduced 2 new ones this season. One was an uncle, but the other one that just randomly, they're getting ready to buff the floors for the photo shoot, and John Cena walks in, and he's a fact.
I'm just going to assume all new current TV that I'm watching in movies, John Cena's going to show up. Because I feel like he shows up in everything now. And he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, he haunted them.
I
love that concept. That bit of dialogue really felt very much to me like some writer taking a real family
I'm going to haunt you now.
Concept.
Next time you make me mad, I'm going to haunt you.
I tried to.
Well, Carmi is
I tried to haunt you
Claire.
the other day.
You did?
Yeah.
Carmi's haunted by Claire.
Yes,
she's his piece. Not like a piece, but at peace. Peace.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. I love the facts. I want more of those. And I love how Maddie is a chef in real life, but plays front of house.
Yes.
The scene with Maddie in the soup, where he's like, I pour the broth, and he was practicing it, and then he goes and does it at the table, but he doesn't actually, like, serve it. And then just the look that he and Carmi gave each other was just, you could say, a chef's kiss.
I want to try and make that soup.
Me too.
I think it looks really interesting. I'll need to do some research, but it was mirepoix, which you did, which was onion, celery, carrot, but instead of cooking it, they put those raw ingredients in the bowl and then just pour the hot broth over it. And I really want to try that. That seems interesting.
I will eat soup on a balmy 100-degree day. I'm always. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
We were at Disney in June, and what did I order for dinner at Le Cellier, a steakhouse? I ordered soup because their cheddar soup is just, it's fantastic. So other characters that showed up, Josh Hartnett, randomly.
Yeah, you didn't recognize him at first. He looked a lot different than when he randomly
How did I
showed.
recognize him? I'm a crazy person.
He looked a lot different than when he last showed up. We saw him. He was in Oppenheimer last summer.
How did I recognize him? Because first I was like, that looks like Josh Hartnett. Then I was like, maybe it's not. Then they zoom in, and I'm like, oh, Josh Hartnett has a mole right on his neck that.
Yeah, okay, I remember
mole
now.
placement.
I tried to fugue state that out of my life, that you knew the mole placement of this man.
When you used to have a man's posters on your teeny bopper bedroom wall, you're going to remember things. But he's playing who seems like a good guy that's going to be the new husband to Richie's
Richie's
ex-wife.
ex, Yeah, he seemed like the only time we saw him, he was apologizing to Richie for not talking to him before proposing. And he seemed like he just genuinely
he is a good guy.
Did not want there to be bad blood between them. And I thought the scene later with Richie and his ex-wife on the park bench when they're talking, where she was saying, you're coming to my wedding, right? And basically she said, you're part of my family.
She's like, I don't have a lot of family. She's like, I need you there.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was seeing like Richie kind of evolved.
Mm-hmm.
And even though this situation is hurting him, it's just the way he's handling it. I love Richie, and I want Richie and Chef Jess.
Yes,
restaurant.
Yes, Chef.
So Olivia Colman's back.
Yes.
Her character, and she works at the restaurant that Richie went and kind of trained at.
Mm-hmm.
Carmi's worked with her, that hot guy from We're the Millers. He was not hot in We're the Millers. I don't know what kind of food he ate. I don't know what the actor's name is.
He was in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, right?
Yeah, he was pretty in that too. So she decides she's back, and it's not that her restaurant is doing bad. She just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And that is kind of the plot point that this entire season revolves around, really, is that you get that news. I think it's like the second or third episode we find that out, that it's closing, and it hits everybody really hard.
Yeah.
Because they're in the Bear trying to come up with this new restaurant and struggling, only to see a very successful restaurant from a very world-renowned chef closing down.
Yeah.
And eventually we find out she just didn't want to do it anymore for whatever reasons. But that to me is the plot of the show, is reconciling that with all the other things that are going on. This is not an easy business to be in.
No, not at all. And I think she's good in anything she does
too.
She's
phenomenal.
She's just any role she does, she's great. So Sid's arc is she's still, I think, kind of not necessarily at odds with Carmi vocally, but there's internally, yes.
She needs to learn to speak up for herself a little bit more with some of the stuff going on.
Because if she does take this job offer, I think Carmi has every right to feel blindsided.
Yes, because she's got a contract in her email box
not like conflict
to become a partner at the Bear.
Yes.
And she won't even open it and let alone sign it. But now she's got the chef from the Olivia Colman's closing restaurant saying, "Hey, I want to start something, and I want to bring you in, and you're entirely in charge of the menu."
She's having decision
paralysis. She's just paralyzed. Yeah, she's just paralyzed.
And she kind of has a panic attack in the last episode. That was heartbreaking to watch. A lot of people kind of talked about how it was almost very similar to Mikey's panic attack in the Christmas episode, where he was acting like he was having a good time and then went and just kind of. And I feel like a lot of us, if you suffer from anxiety, I've been there. Where I can, what is it, Taylor Swift? I can do it with a broken heart. I can put on my smile. I can be happy with people, but internally. And I think that's another reason why, again, I like these character-focused episodes. If you asked me to pick what my favorite season so far of The Bear was, I would still say season 2 was just incredible because it had that episode with Richie where he's singing Taylor Swift, and that's peak TV for me. But I have no complaints about season 3. I loved it. I can see why it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But I'm going to throw down the gauntlet right now. We are going to resume this discussion probably sometime in July, August about the best thing going. And I need to see how The Boys plays out this season. The Bears knocked it out of the one slot for me right now. The Bear is that is the show that I am most excited for. I want season 4 right away. Thoughts?
Yeah, I want to save my thoughts for that episode of the podcast when we get to it, but
right now, if you had to pick,
I'm in a very similar place to you right now with 4 episodes of The Boys left. I'm having trouble. I'm having trouble seeing The Boys keep its mantle as the best thing going with knowing that we're getting a season 4 of The Bears. Now, quickly to address your what season is favorite of The Bear, I will have to think about it. You know me. I like to think about things and really sit on them for a long time before I say it. Season 2 of The Bear was like magically good. But I agree that this season was magically good. So I'm going to have a lot of trouble differentiating between the two. Can I make a weird observation for me that I don't know if you will jive with this, but you know the concept of comfort shows, right? Like something you put on when you just don't want to think. I could totally see this being a comfort show for me, just like turning it on.
Even the Christmas episode?
Yeah, all of it. Like just watching it through a million times over.
I could see that, but I would have to skip the Christmas episode.
That one you may have to skip because that one is a bit intense. But just for something about and I do understand the people that really like the episode Napkins, Tina's episode, where they went back to the original Bear or the beef restaurant before they upgraded it. I really did like seeing that again because there was something very charming about that rundown old hole in the wall restaurant. And I think to put a bow on this entire conversation, I believe very strongly that this story arc
could be the end game
is where we're going to get back to not necessarily what it was when the show started, but a more elevated and better version of it.
They already said it that because they still have the sandwich window that's the only thing that's making them money.
Yeah. I think that's where we're heading and that's going to play back. That's going to play into the whole themes of family and like why they needed to show us Mikey's impact on Tina and other people is to show that that's the stuff that's important in life, and Carmi's needs to get there, and they all need to come back around full circle, and they'll have a restaurant that I think is not, again, it's not going to be that hole in the wall restaurant. It's still going to be an upscale nice place, but it's going to much more harken back to what the beef was before they changed it.
Yes, chef.
Yes, chef. Okay, well, that is all the new stuff we've been watching, except for, of course, Suits. And we are into season 7 of Suits, and
I thought we were 8.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. We're into season 8 of Suits, and I just have to say that I didn't think the worst character on the show leaving would make the show worse.
Say it. Say you miss him. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say it.
I miss Mike Ross.
I miss Mike Ross, too, and I miss Rachel, who was a good character.
I miss Rachel more than Mike, but yes.
I miss Rachel more than Mike, too, but Mike was the heart of the show. And
absolutely. He was, yes.
They're trying to find their footing in season 8, and they'll even have Harvey kind of act like Mike at times. Donna will act like Mike, and I'm like, I just want Mike back.
Just get Mike back.
I did not love their send-off.
No, that was weird.
Because it was clearly a setup for the Pearson spinoff with Jessica, which I love Jessica.
Yes.
So that's fine, but for two major characters, especially Mike Ross being one of them, I felt like they were secondary, like, to the plot, and that annoyed me, and I didn't get enough time, but their wedding was very beautiful. I liked, I've got to see Meghan Markle get married twice on TV now. That's pretty cool. A fake wedding and a real wedding. But the show is, the Mike and Harvey, the dynamic is the show. Now, I do like that Rachel's dad is a regular now.
Although he hasn't been in the last few episodes.
He has joined the firm a little bit. He's like now the managing partner.
He's managing partner. It's now Zane Spector Lit.
Yes. Lewis and Sheila are back together. I'm excited about it. Okay, so would you rather have Lewis with boring, no personality woman?
No, I wouldn't. But I feel very much like after that relationship ended with the whole Mike, the revelations that Mike wasn't a lawyer and that relationship ended, I feel very much like since they've had interactions since then, I haven't liked it.
Her character feels a little different.
She feels different.
She was always a wild woman.
Yes.
And kind of like nutty like that, but they kind of made her, and they backed that off a little bit in the most recent episodes though, and kind of said why she was acting like that. But yeah, I'm just not sure what they're doing there.
And in the last episode, they were concentrating on the relationship we actually care about, which is Harvey and Lewis. And that was probably my favorite episode so far of season 8. I agree. That's the best one so
Lewis
far.
Was like, we are in a relationship. I thought that was funny.
Even though I got you over here rooting for a cheating storyline.
Why would you call me out like that?
You were sitting on the couch. You were basically like now Kith to those two characters.
Craig Manning from Degrassi. I don't know what his name is in the show. Do we?
Brian?
Brian. Yes, that's what it is. And Katrina Bennett. Finally, it took me like 7 seasons to like Katrina. Or I don't remember when we were introduced to her. They have really good chemistry, and I wish he wasn't married and that they could kiss. But I don't think they're gonna. I don't think that's what they're gonna do. But I do think Katrina has a crush on him.
I think the last episode we watched.
I think she might get her heart broken, and it's gonna be embarrassing.
Well, I think it very much kind of closed the door on that.
Yeah,
and has left it as she's realized. Oh,
he's
this guy
nice
is
and
nice and a friend, and I don't have a lot of those, so I should probably hold on to that.
Oh my gosh. She's like a Taylor Townsend from the OC. Like, a guy's nice to her, and she's like, I love you.
Everything's not about the OC.
But what if it is? Anyway, Suits. Katherine Heigl's on it now. I knew she showed up on Suits. I just didn't realize she was the mic replacement.
You kept telling me she did, and I was like,
when?
Season
1, I've been like, when is Katherine Heigl showing up? And it just feels to me like Izzy Stevens is pretending to be a lawyer. She's a little meaner than
I don't
Izzy.
remember too much of Grey's.
I like her character on Suits, but I really
yeah.
like Katherine Heigl, so I think she's going to knock any role she does out of the park. So.
Yeah, I don't dislike the character. It's not the chemistry and the mix that we're used to for this show.
We miss Mike.
And yeah, it's Mike. He's missing, and it shows. And I hate to say it, but I know you've told me he'll show back up at some point.
I think he does.
And I'll be excited when he shows up because it'll feel like Suits again. It feels like a different show almost.
It does. It really feels like, it almost reminds me of when the Vampire Diaries, when Elena left. It reminds me a little bit of, not quite as bad as this, but do you remember that? Like, I don't even consider it the last season of Scrubs because like JD and Elliot were only like the first episode. So at least we still have a lot of our mains. It just...
I'll throw you out there. The main one, when Michael left the office.
Yeah. Like, I could barely even watch The Office anymore.
That's what it feels like. Like, such an integral character has left, and it's just like, they struggled the rest of the run of that show to plug that hole.
You went from being like, okay, when is Mike leaving to he needs to come back.
He still annoys me, but he is an important part of the chemistry of what made the show Suits reasonably tolerable for entertainment.
Agreed. But on that note, I think it's time to wrap this up because I am very hot and I have a hot dog lying on me while I film this.
Not a glizzy either, an actual animal.
As in our third co-host, Mr. Marvin.
You know what? Fan mail, folks. We don't have any right now, but hit me up. Have you heard the term glizzy in reference to a hot dog?
I've seen it one time since you've been saying it on TikTok. But I've never heard a normal person say glizzy. And he does this just to get on my nerves.
I'm haunting you.
I'm going to haunt you.
All right. Well, listen, everybody, have a fun and safe 4th of July.
Put in reverse tear.
Enjoy them glizzies, and we will talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at TheRealHoboDan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.